Yes, lads, what is going on? And welcome to season 4, episode 2 of The Running Irishman. The first guest of season 4 of the podcast is Adam Fogg. If you're not aware who Adam Fogg is, he is an Australian runner who was born in England. Currently over in America on a scholarship in Drake University. Adam is a top high caliber athlete who has PBs of a 13:45 5k on the road, a 3:38 1500 meters, which is a Drake school record, and also a 29:26 10k personal best. Adam, not only is he a really great runner, he also has a YouTube channel called the Fogg Dog exclusive, and it's a really great YouTube with over 8,000 subscribers after only starting it in January of 2020. So huge growth and progression, and well-deserved growth and progression there on his behalf, as it is a really great great channel, which is showing kind of the college side of racing and training over in America, which is I love watching the videos. So there'll obviously be a link down in the description to that. What me and Adam talk about in this episode is kind of his early days of running. Was he, a young prospect over in Australia? Kind of how the whole process of signing for Drake University on a scholarship came about, and also his insane track season this year, running in the NCAA indoor and outdoor, coming All-American in the indoor, finishing for fourth in the 1500 meters, and a lot more. So it is a really great episode. Adam is a really sound lad, and I did really enjoy this episode of the podcast. I said really a lot there, really a lot. So yeah, as I said, he's a really sound lad, and I did enjoy this podcast, and I'm pretty sure you all will as well. As you can see, obviously, if you're watching this episode, I did get my hair cut, so no longer the long hair. Around the sides, got fresh fade, so looking absolutely fresh, and kind of just a fringe. So yeah, that is kind of all the news and everything you need to know for this episode. First guest of season 4. What no better way really to kick it off. What a great way to kick it off with Adam Fogg, the Fogg Dog. So yeah, let's get into this episode of the podcast and roll the intro. Yes, lads, what is going on?
My name is Amy O'Donoghue.
People call me Dr. Josh.
My name's Lewis O'Loughlin.
My name is Otto Donald.
I'm Charlie O'Donovan.
I'm Abdul Jill.
I'm Scott Fagan.
I'm Mark Conrad.
My name's Cormac Dalton.
I'm Paul Byrne.
I'm Michael Morgan.
More than a runner.
The Irish Hammer.
My name's Brennan.
I'm Brian Fay.
It's Dash Bar.
I am a triathlete.
Craig Engels.
Cheryl Nolan, Sean Donoghue, John Rankin.
We got 10th at the World Championships in 2019 in Doha.
I'm doing great, just happy to be on the podcast.
I'm a Man United fan.
Let's get into this episode of the podcast. Yes, lads, so we are here with Adam Fogg. Adam, we really do appreciate you taking the time out and coming on the podcast. As usual, I am privileged to have you on, as I'm a big fan of the videos on the YouTube, and obviously you're a really top class runner in the collegiate scene over in America at the moment. So yeah, it's definitely a privilege to have you on.
Thank you for having me here. Yeah, it's good to be on and having a chat.
Definitely. So yeah, kind of, I won't do you any justice. So do you want to kind of just take it away and kind of give an introduction about who you are and what you're all about?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm Adam Fogg. I was originally born in England. Sorry for all the Irish people out there. I know that might be a little bit offensive. Born in England, moved to Australia when I was 7. Grew up really on the east coast of Australia, in Brisbane. And I go to college over in America now at Drake University. This year as well, my parents have actually moved back to England, so England's kind of like home base again. But yeah, for the time being, I'll be spending most of my time out in America. I'm a 1500 5k runner, personal best of 3:38 in the 1500, 3:57 in the mile, and 13:58 on the track for 5k. Yeah, back in America now for cross country. So looking forward to this season, and yeah, hopefully everything goes well. So we'll see.
Definitely. So kind of going from maybe the start of your running career. So obviously you mentioned that you were born in England and moved over to Australia when you were 7. So kind of we've seen your running just on your YouTube channel per se, you know, kind of recent enough times, and obviously you're running at a very high level, but kind of was that always the case from a young age when you were running, or was there ever just kind of one year, one season where you kind of just, you know, shot up in the sense of running and got really good?
Yeah, I'd say I was always like pretty decent based on like the kind of training that I was doing at the time. So I didn't really run at all when I was in England until I was 7. And then I came over to Australia, and when I was 8, like won the school cross country, but that wasn't really any like big deal. It was just like a mile kind of running around the fields and stuff. I always like had a little bit of talent, I guess. I never really did too much about it. When you turn like 10 in Australia, you can start representing your school and then your district, your region, and your state at these kind of representative competitions. And I always did that through school. Like I made nationals in the 800 when I was 11. So I was always like kind of up there. But then I'd say there's never really been a year where I've had a huge jump and gone from like being fairly standard to like being quite a bit better than that.
Yeah.
And I still have quite a long way to go, I think. But I feel like my progression over the last kind of, I'd say 3 years has been pretty solid. So from about 2018 onto now, each year I've kind of improved steadily, but those 3 years have kind of stood out quite a bit from the rest, relatively, obviously, including like growth and development that comes just with the training. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. That's obviously definitely represented in your times and in the kind of caliber of races that you've been running in since you got over to America in, you know, the past 3 years, as you mentioned. And obviously kind of on the, you know, subject of America, you know, to get over there and to get that scholarship, you know, you kind of have to be, you know, winning races. As you said, you never had a year where you jumped up and you just got really good out of nowhere. You were kind of, you could say, maybe consistent in your progression and in your training. So, you know, obviously to get a scholarship to a Division 1 college like Drake University, you must have, you know, won some big races in terms of Australian running.
Yeah, I've actually never won anything huge. I actually trying to think. I really haven't won too much in Australia, or I hadn't before kind of coming over to college. But I definitely started to run a bit quicker. So I think probably something that like helped me stand out a little bit in terms of getting a scholarship to America was in 2018. It was my last year as an under 20, and I had a real crack at making the World Junior team for the 1500. There was only one person at the time had a qualifier the week before nationals, and I then ran the 1500 qualifier. I ran 3:47 the week out from nationals, and then in the national final, someone else got it, and yeah, these two guys went. I missed out, but from then I kind of started to improve a bit over the 1500. Didn't really win anything in particular, but I was able to then get into some bigger races. And early in 2019, I ran 3:45 and then made the Australian Open national final against guys like Ryan Gregson, Luke Matthews, Matt Ramsden, just to name a few. And I think, yeah, at that sort of time, I was really starting to look into college, and that's actually pretty much when yeah, I got the offer from Drake, just from running a bit quicker, pretty much.
So could you really say that your time stood you more than kind of the wins you got in high caliber races?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Honestly, yeah, thinking about it, I really didn't actually win that much. Like I'm struggling to actually think of races that I
Yeah.
won. I ran that World Junior qualifier in 2018. I won that 3:47. But yeah, no, honestly, other than that, I mean, there must have been something. I'm struggling to think. Yeah, maybe I didn't win anything.
Maybe.
Honestly.
But
But the college coaches definitely like looking at times, and if you can show you're starting to improve, because at the end of the day, like when you run quicker, you're going to get put into races that have quicker people, and so
definitely.
If you're always winning races, you're probably not in the right races. But if you're kind of steadily improving your times, then yeah, it shows progress, I think. Yeah.
Definitely. And kind of then moving on to the whole scholarship process and, getting over to America and getting to Drake University was, from a young age was going to America, or kind of not from a young age, but kind of from the age where the process or the kind of mindset starts coming into your head of actually picking up a scholarship and getting over to America. Was it always something that you'd like to do, or did you just get the offer from Drake and was like, what, this actually be a cool thing to do?
Yeah, no, it really wasn't always something I wanted to do. When I was in high school, I first started to look into it, and quite a few people from Australia were going over, and so I saw them going over and kind of like running well, having a good time and stuff. So I thought it would be cool, but then I hadn't really run quick enough out of high school. Then in 2018, I spoke to a couple of places, but kind of then completely gave up on it because it didn't really work out. Then, as I said, I ran a bit quicker in 2019. I spoke to maybe 3 different places, but yeah, within a couple of weeks of talking to their head coach at Drake, I signed, and that was it. I kind of wasn't really enjoying uni in Australia. I was running all right, but I was pretty keen to give something else a go. So it came at the right time. And yeah, pretty much getting that offer, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And so I did.
So you were already in university in Australia before you went over to America. So how long were you in university in Australia before you were like, right, I'm going to head over?
Yeah, I actually did 2 years in Australia studying psychology, and it was rubbish. Yeah, coming over to America worked out really well. I'm doing business, majoring in marketing over here with a minor in psychology. So I should graduate in May 2022 with a business degree and like a minor in psychology. So yeah, fingers crossed that all goes to plan. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely glad that I decided to actually make the move. And I mean, uni in Australia, I would have ended up with probably a pretty pointless degree. And it was going to take quite a long time to get it as well. So I'm glad to be here.
100%. And kind of, you were mentioning there that you were kind of in the talks with 3 different colleges. What made you, make the choice to move to Drake?
Yeah, just the head coach at the time was Mark Carroll, who's a double. Actually, you might have heard of him. He's Irish.
Yeah.
Double Olympian, 350 miler, 730 for the 3K. Yeah, so he was our head coach at the time that I was kind of first talking to Drake. And that made it really pretty appealing. Yeah, just kind of being able to like learn from him. And then as well, like the actual scholarship offer was the best. Like pretty much covers everything. That doesn't really get discussed very often, but it's something I think should be discussed.
Yeah.
Like running contracts, I think it'd be much more interesting and would probably bring a lot more money into running if people actually knew what people were making.
Definitely.
But yeah, the offer from Drake was just like the best one, and yeah, I thought it would work out well. The weather here isn't very good over winter, but we make do with that. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, that's the thing, because like coming from Ireland over to America, especially in the summer, would probably be a huge adjustment in terms of heat. But coming from Australia, it's nearly like a downgrade.
Oh yeah, I mean, right now it's still pretty warm over here
Yeah.
because it's kind of like the summer. But our winters, man, they're ridiculous. Like it gets down to honestly a wind chill of like minus 40 is not that uncommon. Minus 25 every year, like, is very, very common.
Jeez,
Yeah.
that is insanely cold, especially for someone coming from Australia.
Oh, it was tough. Very, very tough. My first winter here, it was just like a joke. When I came back, because I went back to Australia for Christmas 2019 before Corona, I came back in January, in like the depths of winter, and I didn't run outside for the first 6 weeks I was here, I think. Yeah. So by then it was like late February. I then had a month of kind of sometimes running outside, and then I went home because of Corona.
Yeah.
So yeah.
that kind of leads nicely into my next question in terms of the whole adjustment from running in running and living in Australia, and especially in terms of college. Sometimes you have people that go straight from high school or secondary school over to America. So in terms of settling down within a college, the adjustment isn't a huge thing because it's completely new to them. But especially for you who spent 2 years in university over in Australia, that alone needs a readjustment. But in terms of life in general, what was that entire adjustment like going from Australia to America?
Yeah, definitely a huge adjustment. When I was at uni in Australia, I still lived at home. That's what most people in Australia do. So I hadn't actually lived out of home. I was 20 when I moved over here, and literally just, I guess, being out of my own home. I hadn't moved away before. So I guess that was pretty strange. Like, my first semester, I had a roommate from Austria. He wasn't on the team or anything, but he was just an exchange student for a semester. So we got on pretty well, and that was good. But just the whole kind of thing of, I had my own room and my own kind of area in Australia, in the house, and then I was put literally in a room with this other guy. You're sharing showers and, I don't know, like using public bathrooms and stuff, and it was just completely different to what I'd been used to. That's kind of like a pretty petty issue, I guess, but just the thing of, like, I don't know, eating in the dining hall, and yeah, just it was a pretty big adjustment. I handled it pretty well. Like, it was completely fine. I just got on with it. But it was very different. Yeah, good though.
100%. Do you feel like you kind of it made you, in terms of becoming an adult, grow up a little bit quicker because you don't have your parents there around you to kind of do things for you if you need them done, and you kind of just have to take responsibility?
Yeah, it kind of makes you realize a bit more of, like, how much your mum actually does for you. Dad as well, but at home, mum will cook and, I don't know, do whatever mums do. So having to like, I guess, do a bit of my own thing was pretty different. I've got pretty used to it now, and I'm fairly, like, fine. Living over here is completely fine. It's good, but yeah, that first couple of weeks or so was definitely different.
Yeah, I'd say it was. And kind of in terms of the entire running adjustment, because obviously as of right now, you're running well in the NCAA final this year. You're kind of you could say one of the big dogs in American athletics at the moment, and the Times definitely do represent that. And coming over to America, the standard is really, really high there. There's no doubt about that. Did you feel, was there ever a time when you came over where, there was people, your age or a bit older running really, really fast, and it kind of was overwhelming for you in terms of that adjustment? Or did you kind of use it to be like, I want to get that good? So what was that kind of adjustment like in terms of athletics like for you?
Yeah, so when I came over, I'd run 3:40 for the 1500, and I've only run 2 seconds quicker than that now. I guess I've only really had one proper season since then, where I ran a little bit quicker, running 3:38. But I knew that I'd run 3:40, and I knew that at the time the top guys in the NCAA were running like 3:36, 3:37. Like 3:40 would definitely have made a national final pretty much in any other year other than last year. So I knew that I had potential to, like, do decently in America. And it's definitely something that I was, like, pretty looking forward to. But I knew that I kind of had to, like, train pretty well and be running pretty well, and kind of making the most of it to actually get to that level. And again, I still feel like I've got quite a long way to go. Like, I got knocked out of the NCAA 1500 heats this year. I mean, obviously I made the final in the mile and came fourth in that, and then moving on to outdoor, I don't know what it was. I might have been tired from a long season, maybe just wasn't training quite right or something. But yeah, in the 1500 outdoor, that didn't really go as planned. But no, the competition here is incredible, and it's definitely something that I was really keen to like be a part of. I always thought I could eventually get somewhere up there, but yeah. And as I was saying, like I still feel like I want to get more out of myself this year. So hopefully I can do that.
Yeah, definitely. And do you kind of feel having them athletes around you? You know, obviously this year you're racing athletes like Cole Hawker in the NCAA, and you know your teammates and your coaches. Do you feel like going out to America really did improve you as an athlete, just because of, you know, the high standard of running out there?
Yeah, definitely. And now as well, like we've got a few new recruits this year, and they're all running pretty well. So we've now got a really pretty good group to train with. Like this morning, I had an 8-mile tempo, and there's a race happening today. So like half the team wasn't there, but the guys I was running with, they all did 6, because the older guys basically are racing. The new recruits are a little bit younger. They were training today. I'm training through races at the moment. So yeah, like for example, today I did an 8-mile tempo. They did the first 6 with me, and it just worked out really well. In terms of like America improving me, yeah, without a doubt, I have improved. And I think probably the biggest thing that I've improved with is like strength-based sort of stuff. As I was saying, like my 1500 PB has improved, but I think like if you compared what I could have run for a 5K like 3 years ago to what I can run for a 5K now, and even like a 10K, or if I got put on the road for like a half marathon, not that I want to do that yet, but the strength-based training has definitely made a pretty significant difference, I think, definitely, yeah.
So you kind of feel like, you know, obviously you had the, you know, athletes around you and the competition, but, you know, different things, even things you've done yourself, or things that, you know, the coaches played a big, huge role in terms of you developing as an athlete, is kind of the key points in where you've seen development.
Yeah, 100%. The coach now, Jay, he was here when Mark Carroll was head coach. They'd worked together for a couple of years before that as well, I think. So I came over here in August 2019, and yeah, Jay's been here the whole way through. Mark Carroll was our head coach for my first semester, but then he left to he took on the head coaching role at Boston Athletic Association. So yeah, it's just been pretty much Jay ever since like November 2019. But yeah, he's done a really, like, he does a good job. Definitely, he's a good coach and good fun as well. He's a good man.
Yeah, 100%. You always need the kind of seriousness and kind of the banter in terms of training as well. It's always really important to kind of have that balance. You know, in terms of, you know, maybe what we see on Instagram, what we see on YouTube, not from you specifically, but, you know, in general across social media, it's nearly like a highlight reel. Kind of, has there ever been, you know, in terms of you, obviously not everything has to be shared on social media, but in terms of when you were over in America, maybe when you first arrived there, maybe you weren't racing well, maybe you were injured, maybe you weren't training well, was there ever a time where you were like, did I make the right decision? Was there ever a time you weren't able to race, weren't able to train, and you're like, kind of, what do I do now? Or is it been pretty smooth sailing?
I've been, yeah, touch wood, pretty lucky. I don't know, if I do a race and there's a good photo from the race, pretty much regardless of what happens, I like to get something up.
Oh yeah, I'm the same, 100%.
Yeah, it's good to do. And obviously now with the YouTube thing, this has only been going since like indoor 2020, January 2020. Well, so it's quite a long time now anyway. But yeah, pretty much everything I do is at least on Strava. So the last, I don't know, four years at least of training, pretty much every run is on Strava. Like I don't really hide anything. There was in my first semester, yeah, like I've been really pretty good the whole way through. I haven't had any major injuries the whole time. I've had a couple of niggles like here and there, but nothing major enough to really hold me out. The only thing I can actually think of, I got like glandular fever, mono, back in 2018, but I wasn't even over in America then. Had to have like 2 months completely off all exercise. That completely threw me around. Glandular fever did. Mono, as it's called in America. But I mean, honestly, other than that, it's been smooth sailing. Long may it continue.
Definitely.
So hopefully,
Fingers crossed. Yeah, no. So obviously that is really good to hear. You know, you kind of have people that, you know, just for the sake of saying it, will say, "Oh, things are tough here, things are tough there." It's rare where you get someone who's kind of had it. You know, as you said, touch wood, smooth sailing for you, for them to kind of, you know, allow them to train consistently and race consistently. Is that, you know, a key factor? Obviously, as I keep going back to, you know, the competitiveness over in America and the standard of coaching over in America, but do you feel like, you know, you being healthy for a long period of time over there has led to consistent training and racing?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it 100% has. Like I've had a couple of niggles over that period of time. Like I went back to England in the summer. After NCAA's here, I ran the 1500. Obviously, got knocked out. It didn't go well. But when I went back to England, I planned on running at the Olympic trials. Not to make the Olympics. I think I would have been quite a way off that for the time being.
Yeah.
In the 1500 that was, but I did actually have to pull out of that. I got a little bit sick when I first got to England. I actually was, well, I felt pretty confident that I'd actually got corona. Just like the symptoms I was feeling and stuff, and the fact that I'd travelled internationally. And then I got a really bad knee niggle, but so I pulled out and just had a few days off, and then thankfully got over that and was back to normal. And now I've got like a good 3 months of training in. But I think definitely overall being able to string months, weeks of training together definitely has helped, and hopefully will continue to help going into this cross country and then indoor and outdoor season this year. So yeah.
Definitely, and you know, as you keep saying, it's definitely been shown over, you know, the past indoor and outdoor track season. You know, just, you know, from a few things that I've written down here. Winning first ever track 10K in 29:26, winning 1500 meters, 5K and 10K in the conference meet. Fourth in the indoor NCAA final, 3:38 in the 1500 meters with a Drake school record. Running first pro race, racing in the 1500 meter NCAAs, and yeah, that's what I have written down here. But obviously, a lot more few things kind of in between those big things. So, you know, we'll just start from the. You know, we'll start from most recent of the points I have written down is the 13:45 5K PB in the Podium 5K, and running the 10th fastest time ever in the Podium 5K. I actually just recently watched the video of that. It was really recent, and no, it was really great to see. You know, I could talk about the race from my perspective after watching the video, but I'll kind of let you take this away and talk about the race.
Yeah. So for anyone who's seen the video, it's a pretty classic, like, sit and kick. I went into that. I didn't actually plan on running it, and then I strung together kind of a good few weeks of training in England, and my mum was kind of like, "Come on, you should do something while you're here," because I obviously planned on running at Olympic trials, didn't run that, and this 5K was kind of there for the taking, I guess. So I called the race director and said, "Can you get me in? Because you were meant to be at uni in England to actually run at that." So I called him. He got me in. And then, yeah, Tom Mortimer was the big name going into that. He's run 7:38 for 3K, I think 13:28 for 5K, and 3:39 as well for a 1500. So he's got some serious range and was, yeah, a huge favourite going in. I knew that I probably could beat him, but I'd have to have a really, really good day to do it, just based on what he's run this season. Like 7:38, I think especially, is like world class for a 3K. And yeah, so pretty much we got going. I let him take the lead. He was pretty happy to take the lead, and straight away we were running pretty quick. And yeah, it was a little bit of a shock for me going that quick in a 5K on the road, but the course was really nice. I haven't run there before, but it was a really nice course, and I felt really good. So I was happy just kind of tucking in right behind him. It kind of stayed that way until about 800 to go. Yeah, he was like there were a couple of points in there where it felt like he could have dropped me and got rid of me. And I think that's kind of what he wanted to do, not kind of leave it down to the last, I don't know, 400 or anything like that. But yeah, with about 800 to go, I took the lead. Yeah, and kind of with about 300 to go, really started turning the legs over and was able to get rid of him in the end. And obviously, I mean, big credit to him for leading the whole thing. I'm just glad that I didn't let him get rid of me, because there were a couple of points in there where he could have done, and if he had, I obviously wouldn't have outkicked him. But yeah, overall that felt really good. I was pretty happy with how that went. Yeah.
In terms of running a 13:45, did you kind of think that your fitness, after quite a long track season, did you think kind of maybe you had tired legs, or your fitness in general, could have dragged you to a 13:45, or was it kind of a, as you say, kind of a shock to the system, running that fast and, getting the 10th fastest time in the Podium 5K?
Yeah, like I ran 13:58 on the track back in April. And my season in America kind of ended like mid-June. And I had a few days off then. That was kind of my off season. And then I got back into training kind of like late June-ish. And then from that point on, I was kind of training pretty well. I didn't really do too much in the way of like 5K specific type work. I was kind of doing like more strength sessions, just like longer stuff. I really didn't do much at 5K pace or quicker at all. I did a few like 400 reps. So I really didn't know what to expect. I think I mentioned that in the video. Like I hadn't done a whole lot of 5K work, so I'd been running pretty high mileage, and I think that race kind of goes to show what running slightly higher volume can actually do. Yeah, so I really didn't know what to expect, to be honest, but I was happy with how it turned out, and I knew that if everything went well, I probably should be in close to that sort of shape, just based on what I ran back in April on the track. But I mean, it was really a bit up in the air.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I suppose in terms of your own fitness, where it's at. If you think you might be able to run fast, if you think your legs might be a bit tired, if you kind of, as you said, if you don't know where your fitness is at and it's kind of up in the air, when a time like 13:45 is produced, it is, you could nearly say it's nicer when it happens when you least expect it, when it's the middle of the season. It's NCAA's 5K on the track, just say, and you're going to get dragged to a fast time. But when it was a race like this where you pick up quite a nice time, I'd say that's kind of a bit of a nicer feeling.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it was yeah, really good. I was very happy with that. And yeah, as soon as you run a time, it's kind of like you get used to what that time sounds like, and you want to go quicker. So
100%.
That's same as this one. So hopefully I can go back there. I love that course. So yeah, I'd love to get back there and have another crack.
Definitely, it is a seriously fast time, and kind of jump into it. Another great moment in your track season this year, you're kind of doubling the distance in your 10K track debut, running a 29:26. Kind of was in terms of this track season, I know you missed out on a year because of COVID. Was this something that you had maybe planned for last year or the year before, or was it something that came up mid-season to maybe prepare you for different races?
Yeah, so that was a conference. So like, conference is for the team like the biggest part of the year technically. And I ended up running at that meet the 1500, the 5K, and the 10K. And the 10K was not really for any reason other than to try and win it, and then win it as a part of winning the 1500 and the 5K as well. So it was a little bit of a gamble. Like I knew that I'd probably be pretty tired coming off that. But yeah, I really enjoyed that 10K, to be honest. It was good, and good to get a taste of like doing some of the longer distances on the track. That was kind of pretty late in the season. So that was like mid-May. 2 weeks after that, we had regionals, which was qualifying for nationals for the 1500. I'll be honest, I was pretty tired for that couple of weeks, and I did regionals, like scraped through in the final qualifying position for nationals, and then I don't know if I was like still tired a week and a half later at nationals, but I felt pretty average in my 1500 heat, and obviously didn't make the final, didn't run a PB or anything. I was only a couple of seconds off it. I ran 340 in the national heat to get knocked out. But I don't know if running the 1500, the 5K, and the 10K a couple of weeks earlier was playing a part in that, or if that's just like an excuse. So, yeah, looking back on it, I mean, it was good. It was good fun, but it might have had an effect on the rest of the season. But I can't really say that. Like, it was fine anyway.
Yeah, 100%. You know, you have to dip your toe in these different kind of races, just to see, you know, if you like it, where kind of maybe to get a mark to see where your fitness is at and whatnot. And running a 29:26, you know, for that race specifically, especially for, you know, your 10K race debut, obviously you do longer runs than 10K, but specifically for a race where it's obviously tougher and more technical, you know, that was definitely a really, really solid time. Kind of before that race and kind of during it, what was going through your head? Because personally, I've never obviously ran a 10K race on the track, you know, when you got to the halfway mark, where you're like, geez, I can't believe we have another 5K to go. Were you feeling good in the race? Kind of, what were you like?
Yeah, honestly, pretty good the whole way through. I just really wanted to win it. And I had my 1500 heat an hour and a half beforehand, where I got through to the final in that. And yeah, so this guy from Illinois State, Kevin Koski, he took it out because I kind of think he was thinking he didn't want to leave it down to like the last 200 and try.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, so it worked out pretty well for me. I just, again, sat on him and let him take it. It would have been silly for me to have done anything else because I knew that I hopefully could hold on to him. And literally, if I could hold on to him, I knew that I'd be able to kind of burn him off over that last, I don't know, K, 500, 400, whatever. So, yeah, it worked out really well. I was feeling pretty good. I think we were 1450 through 5K. And then it picked up a little bit. So, yeah, I think I was like 1450 and then 1436-ish for the second half. So it was good. It felt really pretty good. And I literally just sat in second until 500 to go. And then when I moved, I ended up like putting 8 seconds on him over the last 500. So, yeah, it was good. I just really wanted to win that. Yeah, and it paid off.
100%. And that kind of, you know, that conference meet in the whole really did show your range in terms of running, you know, winning the 1500, the 5K and the 10K, you know, ranging from the 1500 up to the 5K, you know, it's two different, it's basically two different sports in a sense. Obviously you're running, but they're two completely different races. And, you know, that entire meet in itself, did you expect? Obviously you said it's a meet for the team, you know, you want to get in as many races and win as many races as you can to pick up points for the team. Were you expecting to go in and do as well as you did, or, you know, were you surprised with the outcome?
Yeah, I definitely knew that I could win all three. And that's obviously what I really wanted to do going into it. I knew that I had a pretty decent chance of winning all three. But I thought it was going to be, really pretty tough to actually make it happen and pull that off. Yeah, I knew that quite a lot of things had to go right for me to actually win all three. But yeah, in the end, it worked out and got it done. So
definitely,
it worked.
And in terms of the, you know, the Drake team, how did things end up going for you there?
Yeah, pretty well. I actually can't remember. I think the men were third overall. I think we were. Yeah, so it was good. I'm pretty sure we ended up third.
Solid, yeah.
Yeah, so overall it was like a pretty good day for the team. Yeah, I think the team, like overall, men and women combined, had like one of the highest finishes in Drake history, or at least for a very long time. So it was a good competition, definitely.
Yeah, no, you and obviously your entire team did run really, really solidly. Kind of, moving into the indoors for a moment. As you mentioned at the start, you came fourth in the indoor NCAA final, picking up a little bit of a trophy for yourself. I did as well watch the vlogs for this in terms of the heats and the finals, and it just looked like, for me, it looked like the entire experience was a complete surprise. Like when you reached that final, I remember you knocked. I think it could have been on your coach's door. After the semi final, when you knocked on his door when you reached the final, and it was like, I feel like I could be wrong, but I feel like you were both just really, really surprised. Could I be right there?
Yeah. Again, like, I mean, 16 guys went to nationals in the mile indoor, and I went in ranked number 15, and 10 make the final. I did know, though, that I could run a bit quicker than what I'd run. So I knew that I was in with a chance. But when Cole Hocker took out the first heat, they were running pretty quick. I think he won the first heat in like 3:56 or some. Yeah, I think 3:56. And I was looking at that thinking, all right, if I'm not in the top 4 here, like I've got to be a fastest loser and go through to the final on time, I was going to have to run something ridiculous. I think it would have been maybe 3:58 to be a fastest loser. And so that made me pretty nervous. Like I knew that I was capable of running that, but going into heats, I don't know. I never really want to have to run ridiculously quickly. And there were five or six guys out of the total 8 in my heat. Actually, no, pretty much everyone in my heat was quicker than me. Maybe, I think I was slowest ranked in my heat. So the odds definitely weren't in my favour. But there were 4 guys in particular in my heat who I thought were going to be really, really tough to beat. So Elliot Kipsang from Alabama, Yusuf Bismana from England, Lucas Bonds from BYU, and Sam Tanner from Washington. So those 4, I kind of thought we're gonna take those 4 automatic qualifying positions. And so when we got going, I didn't want to have to lead, and I didn't lead, at least not for the first half kind of thing. And when we were going really slow, I was like, oh man, this could be it. Like those 4 guys are gonna be tough to beat. Like we're not running quick. What's gonna happen? But thankfully, I was able to beat Sam Tanner and Lucas Bonds, and I got through in 3rd. So it worked out pretty well getting into that final.
100%. And kind of then in terms of final, was again even a stacked field. Cole Hawker, who him and the entire Oregon team were kind of on a roll that indoor season. They were winning left, right, and center. Cole was running the 1500 meters and then following it up with what was it, a 3K or a 5K. They were their confidence was just oozing. Could you feel that from the Oregon team around the stadium, or kind of were you just really focused and dialed in on your own event?
Yeah, I was pretty focused, but I mean definitely like Cole Hocker and Reed Brown were the Oregon boys in the final. I think there was just those 2 in the mile, but yeah, Cole then came back and won the 3K like 2 hours after. And there were no proper crowds because of Corona, but there were obviously quite a few coaches and teammates and stuff. And yeah, that Oregon program is seriously strong. So definitely going into that, I knew that in that race specifically, Cole Hocker was a huge favourite. And I think it could be quite interesting like this year coming. I feel like there isn't really a huge standout anymore in the mile. I mean, obviously, if Couture stays, he's run 3:50, so he would be. But other than that, like other years are going to be completely different to this year. Like everyone kind of knew Cole was the big favourite, and it was kind of reflected in their confidence and just how they ran.
100%. And kind of for your race specifically, obviously getting fourth in the NCAA final is no easy task, and picking up a little trophy for yourself. Obviously, finishing fourth, as I mentioned, is no easy task, but being 1 spot away from 3rd was a little bit bittersweet.
Yeah, definitely. Like I got pretty much out dipped on the line by Waleed Suleiman. I think he beat me by 0.06 of a second, so it was pretty tight. He just got me on the line, but honestly, like from going into nationals like ranked 15th to then making that final to coming fourth, and like second down to eighth get the same trophy regardless. So you're a first team All-American. If indoor track, if you're first to eighth, first team All-American, obviously first is the winner as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, third or fourth, I would have got the same thing. There were no proper medals. It was just, the trophies. So it was a little bit disappointing, but I was very, very happy with fourth anyway.
Definitely, no, you definitely should be. And obviously, do you have your eyes, sit on that third place or even further up the list next year?
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, we'll see what happens. Definitely, I'd love to outdo that. Yeah.
Definitely.
But I don't know. It will either be hopefully in the mile or the 3K. I'm thinking indoor the 3K could actually be a better event for me this year coming. But I don't know. I haven't run anything that quick for the 3K yet, so I'd have to, get in some quicker races and run some quicker times if I really wanted to have a crack at that 3K.
Definitely.
So it in the mile again. We'll see what happens.
We'll see. And then kind of translating into the NCAA outdoor season, where you said you mentioned you were knocked out in the heat. Again it was a stacked heat again with Cole Hawker in it. You kind of have some trend coming on here with Cole Hawker in your races. But obviously I was watching that race as well on your YouTube channel, and it was again a stacked heat, a really, really tough race to qualify from. If I'm not mistaken, it wasn't the fastest, but in terms of the athletes in the race, it was definitely the most stacked.
Yeah. 100%. NCAA's for the 1500 this year was by far, I think, the most stacked 1500 nationals ever. Like, pretty much, I mean, everyone there has broken 340. Everyone who was at nationals has run 3:39.99 or quicker. And there were a few guys in there. I mean, Cole Hawker's now run 3:31. There was, a couple of 3:34s, probably a couple of 3:35s, like all the way down. So me in there with my 3:38, I was like, definitely not actually a kind of favourite to make the final, but I thought I should have done. My teammate Isaac Baston did. He had a really good run in his heat to make that final. I obviously missed out, but against that kind of competition, you can't really complain too much.
Yeah, no, 100% you can't. And kind of, as it being an Olympic year, and as you mentioned, the 1500 meter distance for American teams especially, obviously because in the NCAA, I'd presume most of the athletes are not like American. So, was there kind of a sense of people wanting to prove a point here, for selection for the Olympic trials and obviously the Olympics as well?
Yeah, I think 100%. Some of the American boys, I know Waleed, he ran really well at the Olympic trials in America. Obviously Cole Hawker made the team. Mario from Spain, from Ole Miss as well, Waleed's teammate, he was trying to make the Olympics. A lot of those boys wanted to run at Olympic trials, and quite a few of them did. I think, Cole obviously was the only one. Oh, and Yard made the team, Yard Naguse. So, I mean, that just goes to show how strong that competition is for two of America's 1500 Olympians to be from the NCAA.
Definitely.
And especially when America's already so strong, like for two of the three to come out of college is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and you still have athletes like Matt Sendritz in there, who Cole bet in the trials was. Yeah. It was definitely a statement from the younger athletes, the American athletes this year, and hopefully we'll see great things in Paris to come from them. And obviously you for you personally, You are hopefully graduating at the end of this year. Is that right?
That's the plan. Yeah, so I should graduate in May. And then after that, I don't know. I don't really know where I'll end up. I'll either stay out in America and hopefully try and keep running, or end up back in England. I mean, I guess technically Australia could be in that question as well, but I don't really see myself moving back to Australia and joining a running team or anything like that. I think Australia is like quite a long way from everything. I loved living in Australia, but for running, being in Europe or being in America is so much more convenient, and there are definitely a lot of good groups over here, and a lot in England and Europe that yeah, would be pretty cool to train with. I think I've still got to improve a bit more, and hopefully I will, to kind of have that kind of opportunity to actually, continue running outside of college. Yeah, so we'll see what happens.
In terms of, when COVID first struck, and a lot of athletes seasons were cut short, were you able to pick up kind of any sort of extra year of eligibility in terms of running within the NCAA?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Honestly, I don't really know. Like, eligibility is one of the most confusing things in the NCAA, and I bet quite a few people are turned off the idea of going to America because of eligibility. Yeah. It's really pretty confusing. I have heard that everyone gets a year back. I'm just kind of focused on like running well while I'm definitely here, getting my degree, and then if I can add on, like if I could add on another year after I get my degree, then definitely is something I'll like look into, kind of depending on how I'm running at the time. So if I feel like I've done everything I need to do in the NCAA, like if I run pretty well this year, then I might not come back. I might not have the option to come back anyway. But if this year, for example, didn't go as well as planned, hopefully I don't get injured. But if I did, then that's when I'd look at kind of coming back and potentially using that COVID year that I think I probably have. But honestly, I don't even know. When I graduate, I might have finished with my eligibility. I'll see. I'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. And, kind of looking at, the year ahead, heading into cross-country season and then doing indoors and outdoor tracks all over again, kind of what's the plan? Are there any, big goals in your head, maybe in terms of, national cross, NCAA, indoor and outdoor? What's the plan for this year coming up?
Yeah, so in cross-country, I've never run a national cross in America, but I'd love to be an All-American, which is pretty tough in cross country. Like you gotta make nationals to begin with, and then at nationals you have to be in the top 40, which is definitely tough. Like 40 sounds like a lot, but the depth over here, like of those top 40, probably the top 20, 25 could break 28 minutes for 10K. Yeah. That might be an exaggeration, but it's a huge number. So I'd love to do that. That's going to be very tough, but I'll see what happens. And then, yeah, moving on to indoor, at least I want to be an All-American again. So hopefully top 8 in an event indoor, whether that's the mile, 3K, or even the 5K potentially. Yeah, moving on to, and hopefully I'll do a bit better than that. But who knows? And then, yeah, moving on to outdoor, again, I'd love to be a first team All-American. I think that's top 8 again, outdoor. In whatever event I end up running. Yeah, so pretty simple standard goals. I want to run quick as well. Like I want to definitely run quicker over the mile, the 3K and the 5K. I doubt that I'll run another 10K while I'm in college. I think that one was enough for the time being. But yeah, and then after college, like I know that the Commonwealth Games are in England next July. Late July and August. I'd love to have a crack at making that. And the European Champs as well. I don't know when they are for sure, but yeah, there's so many international competitions next year. It would be cool to try and make something. So yeah, we'll see how this year goes. Try and run quick and try and do a bit of damage, I guess, in America, and then see what comes after that.
Kind of quickly moving into the YouTube side of things, as we touched on briefly during the course of this episode, as you mentioned, which I was quite shocked about that I didn't know, is that you only started it up in January of 2020, and you're already over 8,000 followers, and kind of what's the backstory behind the whole thing? When did you start it, and kind of why did you start it?
Yeah, so I was at home in Australia over Christmas 2019, and one of the guys I was running with, Matt Hansen, he was talking about like me starting up a channel just to kind of like show what it's like in America from, I guess, like an outsider's point of view. Yeah, someone international, that kind of thing. So at the start, I said, no way, like I'm definitely not going to do it. And then, I don't know, I got over to America and thought, why not give it a crack? I didn't plan on posting any videos until I had like a good few lined up, so that if they were rubbish and no one would be interested, I just would get rid of them and not do it. But yeah, no, I kind of like ended up thinking it would be cool to, have a few races on there and be able to kind of show what it's actually like at college. And yeah, so I ended up starting it up in January 2020 for the indoor season in America. Went home, obviously, back to Australia because of Corona in late March. Thought I might have to kind of have a bit of a break from posting on YouTube, but ended up like going the whole way through the year. I did a year and a half of consistent weekly videos. Then over the summer, just gone, I did actually have about a month off. But yeah, no, I'm back to it now. So yeah, I mean, it's just been good to have all of that on film, like the, I guess, parts of training that don't really get seen and races and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I enjoy making them. And now with the NIL rules in the NCAA, it makes like a little bit of money. Definitely not a lot, but it's worth having. So there's that to it as well now, which is good. But yeah, no, it's good fun making them.
100%. Kind of, you started in 2020, and from my podcast and my YouTube, I know how hard it is to grow on social media, and within a year, kind of, a year and a half, you say, getting you're now at over 8,000 followers. Was there ever a time where your videos just shut up out of nowhere, where you start getting consistent views and subscribers? Was there one particular video that helped? Kind of, when did that kind of growth start to happen?
Yeah, there hasn't really been any time where it's like shot up massively, and I've gained hundreds of subscribers overnight. Every week when I post a video, especially if it's a good one, there's like a little, I guess, bit of growth. But there was one video, I did a 10K time trial in Australia in May 2020. And I put that video up, and it did all right in its first kind of few weeks. And then about 2 months after posting it, it started to get quite a few views. And it ended up going from probably being on about 5,000 to going up to 42,000, I think it's on now. Really pretty quickly. Like it must have gotten some algorithm or something. I don't know. But quite a few subscribers came from that. But honestly, other than that, like it's just been very steady progress. And in the months where I haven't had races or anything like that, it's definitely a lot slower. I know that people like seeing race videos, like the 5K video from the other day is doing really well, and that definitely helps the channel grow quite a bit more quickly. But yeah, no, honestly, other than that, it's like being fairly steady the whole way through, just week after week trying to get a video up. They all seem to do decently, but no, there hasn't been any massively like shocking growth with the channel. It's steady. Yeah.
Has there ever really been a time where you kind of, the growth has been extremely slow, and you're kind of like, oh, will I can continue doing this, or was it, always consistently growing where you're like, this is great and you really enjoy doing it?
Yeah, I'd say that's been the case most of the way through. Like it's been fairly steady. I guess when you're not racing, it's a little bit slower than when you have consistent race videos going up. I think like running at NCAA indoors as well, that was another thing that probably did help quite a bit with the channel. But again, like I didn't see any huge growth come from it. I know that when the athlete special broke 4 minutes for the mile, that video of his got like 400,000 views or something. Like, and I think his channel really shot up pretty quickly after that. But no, overall, like I guess there are some weeks where it's more difficult than others because you don't have a video kind of ready to go. But yeah, no, the whole way through it's been pretty alright.
Definitely, and kind of, you know, maybe after this year when you graduate from college, where do you see the YouTube going? Do you see it, you know, maybe following you on your path to maybe becoming pro, or do you kind of seeing you kind of pushing it to the side a little bit?
No, hopefully I'll keep it going. Hopefully I will. If I do, like, if I'm lucky enough to like join a running group after college or whatever I end up doing, I think running will definitely still be probably a pretty big part of my life. And yeah, whatever that ends up being, hopefully I can keep the YouTube channel going. And you know, use it to show whatever I'm doing. So hopefully a pretty decent audience by that time. I guess it's all some people like 8,000 people is massive, and then to others, like when you compare yourself to the athlete special or whatever, he's got like 65 now, so yeah, quite a bit bigger. But hopefully, yeah, just keep it going, and still have it in a year or 2 years time. And that's right.
Have you been noticed at any races or any training sessions yet?
Yeah, yeah, it's funny. Like this morning, we go down to like the local river. It's like a 2 mile jog, and there was one of the like local teams, another university. I think they're like a Division 2 or Division 3. And we were just jogging past. I actually, when they were a long way away, it was so early in the morning. It was still pretty dark. I thought they were a high school team. But then as they got closer, I recognized the uniforms. Don't know any of them, but like half of them were like, "Oh, Fogg dog, like how you doing?" And I was at some races in England, like watching my cousins over the summer. And at one meet in particular, just like a pretty local one, honestly, about eight different people came up and asked to get a picture. It was really pretty strange. Yeah, my auntie and uncle were there, just kind of like, what's going on? Like, pretty odd, but yeah, no, definitely it helps for that kind of thing. That's the kind of thing that I guess at the end of the day, running brands want.
Yeah, definitely.
Gotta be marketing yourself as well as you can be. Yeah, so hopefully going into the future it will help with that kind of thing. But yeah, we'll see where it goes.
100%. And no, I'll definitely will be following along the journey of both the YouTube and the running, and I'm sure you know, all those 8,000 other people that you have right now will definitely be, and hopefully a lot more in the future. So no, I wish you all the best of luck with, you know, with your running and the YouTube. As I said, I will be keeping up to date, and you never know, something might happen over the cross country season or the indoor or the outdoor track season where we might be having you on the podcast for a second episode. So yeah, we'll hopefully be looking forward to that, and I do really appreciate you taking the time coming onto the podcast.
Yeah, no problem at all. It's been good to chat. Yeah, and in future, hopefully, I'm back on here again.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And also for everyone watching and listening at home, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.